Moving northeastward now very quickly at about 40 miles per hour. Areas that we have to watch out for, Mount Herman in about 13 minutes, over toward Clinton at about 16 minutes, and even into Tylertown into Mississippi at about 24 minutes. So very interesting signature here coming in, and certainly this is the potential of a tornado north and east of Alcoa. Yep, BTI now way up to 7.4. Nakandra Norwood, she is on Viper radar. So what that's telling us is this storm is getting more active and getting itself together. It is looking like it's getting stronger, and also the potential of tornado development is now, when you get a 7.4 on the BTI, that is more than likely a tornado that is developing, if not already, on the ground. So fortunately, we're getting into a more rural area here. So Fluker, it is just to your south, Roseland just to your north, and it's moving off to the northeast extremely fast. Mount Herman, way up to the north. In about 14 minutes, it's going to be moving off to the east and northeast. And once again, sometimes we get these long track tornadoes. When you have a level 3 or a level 4 from the Storm Prediction Center, and you have those hatched areas that we showed you, that's the potential of stronger than normal and also long track tornadoes. So definitely we're seeing a signature here. And Nakandra, let's take a look at the actual path here and see if we can see if we're beginning to see some type of path on the ground. But really overall, this is a very small tornado, but nevertheless, it is certainly something that could cause a lot of damage. Now, the rotation path, kind of an interesting path here coming into the south and also to the north. This could be a very, very strong line of straight line winds that we're seeing, maybe some hooking within those straight line winds. But this is the area from just to the north now and northeast of Roseland. We've been looking at the threat of a possible tornado. Now, as we look, you start looking at different features, and let's come a little bit closer in, Nakandra, and focus in. When we start seeing more of a pixelated area, this is a debris tracker, meaning that this could be trees, it could be any type of thing. It could be animals, it could be, I'm not saying cars at this point, but nevertheless, this is debris, shingles, maybe types of wood blowing around. This is more of a very, very wooded area here. We could have some tree damage going on, but nevertheless, when you start seeing the reds and the green is toward the radar, the red is away from the radar, so that's telling us that we are having some rotation as this storm system does move north and east. So fortunately, this is in a very unpopulated area. When you start getting east of Fluker, this is very rural, and again, we don't have a large population, thank goodness, like we saw down in Araby, where, of course, we have many people that live in that area. So as it moves off to the northeast, Bailey, you could be next on the list as we take a look. All in all, this tornado warning is in effect through about 6:45, and once again, it may be extended if it holds together. But for right now, we're looking at the threat of a possible tornado near Roseland, north and east of it, moving off to the north and east right now with a tornado warning that's in effect now through 6:45 for areas of Tangipahoa Parish, and eventually maybe moving in toward Washington Parish, toward areas of Mount Herman. So here we go, 7.4. Nakandra Norwood is on Viper. That is a very strong number for the potential of a definite tornado that could be on the ground. So Mount Herman, Bailey, these areas, you need to pay attention. If you live in these areas, right now, I would be certainly planning, in the event this holds together, make your plan to get into the center or interior of your home. Doesn't necessarily have to be a bathroom. It could be an interior closet. You want as many walls around you as possible, from the outer walls to maybe inner walls of hallways to the actual center of your home. So you want as much protection around you as possible. So here's a look now at the radar itself. This line is moving very quickly, and if there's any silver lining, the good news is that it is moving very, very fast. However, we're going to be watching out. We still have a long way to go for the next three and a half hours of this main line moving eastward. And once again, we have a report of a possible tornado on the ground. The BTI on the Barron Tornado Index was very high, and that did indicate we were looking at the threat of a tornado. So let's come back to velocity if we can, Nakandra, and see if we can start seeing more of that red and green together. So this is a severe thunderstorm warning south, but still we are looking at an area here that certainly looks to be a tornado that is possibly on the ground. don't have ground truth, but radar is certainly indicating right in this area here, we're looking at the threat of a tornado. Now, if you live in Bolivar or Bailey, look at this. This is debris tracker. This indicates that we could see trees and debris, possibly shingles from a home, any type of thing blowing around that would be debris within the actual tornado that's moving off to the north. So if you do live near Bailey in these areas, you may not know where that is, but if you live around this area, you certainly know this is an area that you certainly need to get into your safe place right now, into the interior of any type of structure with as many walls around as possible. So if this is moving up to 35 miles per hour, the contour is going to bring it down. On average, we're looking at Bailey and also possibly over to Clifton. We could see this moving in the next 12 to 14 minutes. So if you are in Bailey, if you are in Clifton, south of Mount Herman, right now is the time to start paying attention for the threat of a possible tornado that is moving your way. I'm going to come in and stop this for you, and we have another alert coming down right now, and we'll see what's happening with it. So let's go back to velocity, base velocity here, and we can show you that certainly we're looking at an area right in this vicinity here where that cursor is for the threat of a tornado moving north and east. Now, Bailey, in your area, small town, this is heading in your direction. Get into your safe place right now. Get into the interior of a room. If you have a helmet, if you've got something like maybe some pillows or something as big as maybe even a mattress, if you have some people, put it over your head, because certainly if this is an indeed tornado, and the Barron Index is up to 7.1, that's out of 10, we can certainly see a tornado that is on the ground. So let's see, we have another tornado warning. Has this been extended to Conroe? Into Washington Parish now. So again, this certainly more than likely is a definite tornado on the ground by Viper radar, moving toward Bailey right now and continuing to move northward, just north and west of Clifton. So, Wilmer, you're okay at this point. This is to the northwest of you. However, what we don't like to see is within this area, we're seeing kind of a debris ball, or we're seeing a debris tracker. Once again, when you start seeing areas where we're seeing that velocity, and now a Viper rotation track of a tornado on the ground now, just to the southwest of Roseland, moving northward, certainly south of Fluker, which is good news, rural area here. However, Bailey, you could be next in line. It's moving in this direction here, just at or north of you. So once again, if you are in these areas, get into your safe place right now. Interior of the room, interior of home, once again, any walls around you, the more the better, where you would have protection in the event the tornado did come right into your area or your subdivision. So this is going to be a storm we're going to be watching very closely. 6:45 was the early expiration. Now, Nicandra, what time does this one end? It's extended now farther north and east, coming into areas of Washington Parish. So certainly on the North Shore areas, we are watching this for you very closely. I'll come back and actually drive radar very quickly while Nicandra gets that information. And again, this is the area we're looking at. Bolivar, Bailey, these areas here, as that storm continues to move off to the north and east. Bolivar, Bailey, what time?
Keeping it at 6:45.
Okay, it's 6:45. They've extended it but kept it till 6:45. This is the area that we're watching right now. Again, toward the radar in green, away in red. So what we're seeing is away and also toward the radar. That indicates that we are seeing rotation for the potential of a definite tornado that's on the ground. In fact, the fact that the Weather Service has now extended this all the way into Washington Parish, it is something we're going to be watching very closely. Nicandra, let's come a little bit farther out, and you can see here is Clifton, here is Mount Herman, and once again, as it moves in toward areas of Clifton, moving in toward Washington Parish, we will be monitoring that. Indeed, if it holds together, and it does stay on the ground, we could have several smaller communities on the North Shore that would be in danger. So once again, that is going to be something that we're going to be watching very closely. So as we take a look, all in all, it looks like this system is pretty much holding its own, and we have another severe warning that may have come down. It may be an extension of the severe thunderstorm watch. In fact, notice we have an overlay of a severe thunderstorm warning on top of a tornado warning, and that tells us that we have a lot going on at this point. So here is a a severe thunderstorm warning pretty much almost in the same area. We'll see whether or not they keep with the actual tornado warning. But from Amite, just north of Independence, heading over toward Franklinton, all this strong thunderstorm activity is moving off to the east. And what we're seeing is it's radar indicated with a possible tornado indicated. That's why they're keeping the tornado warning on top of the severe thunderstorm warning in the event that we are getting rotation showing up on radar. So right now, Franklinton, as you can see, we're seeing quite a bit of storm activity moving into your area, and the area down south, this is where we were looking at the threat of a possible tornado. So Viper does indicate that we're seeing that. Let's go back now to Viper if we can. Can we hot punch it up there? I think John's up there. Can we hot punch Viper very quickly? If we can see this is the area we're looking at around Bailey, moving north, heading over toward Mount Herman. So it looks as though we're looking at the potential of a definite tornado on the ground. I'll stop the actual radar itself, and we can show you with our base velocity this area here, and it's still holding on. I mean, Nicandro, we've been watching this now, for a good, 15, 18 minutes now, and it looks as though right in this vicinity here, right over Bolivar, we told you about 8 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, get into your safe place. Bailey, we told you, get into your safe place. You should be in your safe place right now. This tornado is basically right on top of you, as it is moving very quickly off to the northeast at about 40 to 45 miles per hour. So I'm going to come a little bit farther off to the east and keep the actual rotation within that. And you can see where Bolivar is and Bailey, where we do have the threat of a tornado on the ground. It's moving in this direction. So it looks as though if it does stay on the ground, hopefully it will be north and west of Clifton. But nevertheless, if you are in Clifton, I'd like to say now is the time to get into your safe place. Clifton, if we have any veering at all, it could certainly come a little bit closer to you. So Clifton, if you're in this vicinity, I would get into your safe place now. As of right now, it's about 9 minutes from you as it's moving off to the north and off to the east. Now, Mount Herman, right now looking okay, but you need to stay alert as it looks like it's going to come right in this vicinity here near Clifton, hopefully northwest of that community, and stay farther off to the north. Let's go back to the debris tracker and see if we're seeing anything in terms of anything maybe flying around. And as of right now, it looks like it may be weakening just a little bit, but nevertheless, it looks like right over Bailey, we're seeing maybe still some debris blowing around. Also, as we take a look at the Viper rotation pattern, as you can see, we've been seeing some rotation in this area here. Now, farther south, again, maybe some straight line winds farther down to the south, but of course, that's something that, as we look, this is kind of a maybe bow echo at this point. Kind of looks that way. In fact, as you can see from Bailey, heading on down toward Holton, we're seeing this kind of hook echo coming in here, straight line winds, and certainly the potential on that line for tornadoes to develop. So when you have these storm clouds 40, 50, 60,000 feet up into the atmosphere, you've got very strong southwest winds at about 20,000 feet, very strong southerly winds at the lower levels. As the air rises, south winds, west wind, you can certainly get that rotation developing, and indeed, that is what Viper is showing right now. Let's show a couple of other warnings from Amite over to Holton. A severe thunderstorm warning in effect in this area, kind of overlaying the tornado warning through about 6:45. And then, as we take a look, now the BTI on this storm system here is down to a 4.8, so it's a bit lower. That's farther southwest near Albany. But nevertheless, as we get toward Folsom in about 29 to 30 minutes, Laranger at 16 minutes, Independence at 11, Tickfaw at 8, Albany right now, certainly this is going to be a strong storm that could bring damaging gusty winds up to 55 or greater, possibility of hail, and with those straight line winds and even a spin-up tornado along the boundary itself, this is something that we really need to look at very, very closely. So here we go from Albany over to Tickfaw. Again, this is not a tornado warning, but I'm sure the Weather Service right now is looking at the threat of something developing near Albany, Natalbany, and Tickfaw. Now, these are more highly populated areas that are just north of Hammond, right along the I-55 corridor. So a BTI right now, getting up there at about 4.8. So you start getting near 5, you start indicating that we may actually have a tornado developing that could certainly be on the ground. But nevertheless, as we take a look, Tickfaw, Laranger, 3, 11, Folsom, 23 minutes. So these are areas, if you are in Tickfaw, Natalbany, also toward University Place, that's a subdivision down toward Tickfaw, I would get into a safe place right now. even if the storm does not develop into a tornado, it will bring very strong gusty winds, damaging winds, and also the potential of some small hail. So still at a 4.8 on the BTI that we just showed you, but nevertheless, when you start seeing these skits, these are areas where we see these arrows come in, and when you click on it like DeCondra did, it'll actually bring up all the information of the storm itself. So the BTI approaching 5, this is a very suspect area here that we're looking out for near Tickfaw. Let's go back to the north now. Well, here we go. As DeCondra clicks it, as you can see, we're looking at all the time periods as it moves in. Maybe we can stop the actual motion, and that'll bring us into our latest image. And within that line, we'll be watching over the next 15 to 20 minutes from Tickfaw over to Albany, moving eastward. Folsom, you're not far away from the main line of storms either. So as that line begins to move your way in the next 15 to 20 minutes, you're going to get some very heavy thunderstorms moving into your vicinity. French Settlement moving eastward as well. Now, as we take a look, overall from Convent to Napoleonville, we're beginning to see into the river parishes now. Convent down toward Hanville and Luling over the next few minutes moving in. Once again, this is what we're looking at in terms of the actual system as it moves off to the northeast. Ponchatoula, farther south to French Settlement and Convent, those storms, Laplace, getting some light to moderate rain, but that will be picking up. In the next 4 to 8 minutes, these rains will pick up, seeing a lot of lightning, very strong gusty winds with this line. We've had a history of wind damage, so certainly in these areas where the line's moving in, we have to pay attention for the threat of strong, damaging, and gusty winds. Let's go back up to the north now to DeCondra and check out and see what we're looking at now. That system that we had with a tornado warning in Tangipahoa Parish moving in toward areas of Washington. Bailey, we were talking about, you needed to be in your safe place. Let's go back to velocity now, and the velocity will show us that we're still looking at this area here that's very suspect, and now we're looking at another one that Viper's picking up, not in the warning itself, but we could certainly see, notice the reds and the green. Now, as we show you this is live. Viper goes in, kind of analyzes those winds to and from the radar, and if it's saying that we may be seeing rotation developing, it will put on these icons indicating that. So certainly, this is going to be an area that we're going to be watching too, south of Stony Point, and another area that is just to the east of Bailey. So this is moving toward Franklinton. So if you live in Franklinton, this will be in your vicinity as quickly as 15 to 17 minutes. So if you live in the area down eastward, severe thunderstorm warning coming in near Franklinton, I would certainly maybe get into your safe place, into the interior of a room. Although it's not a tornado warning, as of right now, I'll tell you, Viper is certainly honing in on this, and Viper has algorithms that no one else has in the market that indicates the threat of tornadoes. In fact, last week it did a phenomenal job on the Arabi storm. It developed as a weak circulation near Lake Salvador, moved north toward Gretna, and then over the river, and then it was a big tornado in Arabi. So once again, Viper certainly can indicate these things. So Franklinton, at about 7 to 9 minutes, if you're in this vicinity, I would get into your safe place. At this point, we could see a tornado developing. We're seeing the signature right now on the icon with Viper, showing that we do have the threat or the possibility of rotation, and that storm is moving very quickly to the north and east at about 40 to 45 miles per hour. So Franklinton, 7 minutes. Sheridan, 15. Varnado at about 25 minutes. Angie, just under a half hour. So if these stay on the ground long enough, these could certainly go into these areas where we could see the potential of some damage. But right now, Franklinton, get into your safe place right now. Get into the interior of your home. Doesn't have to be a bathroom. Get into the interior of a room where you have more walls around you, hallway walls and the outer walls of your building or structure of your home, or maybe even an apartment. So here's your debris tracker, rotation path rather, and you can see we are seeing now the potential of rotation moving in from Holton to Amite. And we told you about 20 minutes ago, if you lived in these areas, to get into your safe place. Now we are seeing now the possibility of certainly a track tornado on the ground anywhere from Montpelier as it moved off to the northeast, just to the south of Roseland, over to Holton. And as you can see, radar is picking up the threat of certainly another developing system moving toward Franklinton. In fact, Franklinton, you are now right in the path, about 5 minutes away. So if you live in Franklinton, get into your safe place as we speak. Get into the interior of your room, anywhere inside the center of the home with more walls around you. And I keep repeating myself, but a lot of people say, well, do I go to the bathtub in the bathroom? Well, we say that because that's usually some, builders put those bathrooms in the center of the home for guests. But if you have a room that's in the center, that's where you need to get into the interior where you have more walls around you. So here's Clifton. Here's Bailey. This is that suspect area that we're watching right now. And as you can see, we're certainly seeing some type of rotation here with the reds and the greens. Again, the green toward radar, the red away from the radar, and that would indicate to and from the radar some type of rotation. Then farther south, we're looking at another possible rotation in this area here, just to the southeast of Stony Point. This one is moving in toward Franklinton. And again, if you're in Franklinton, get into your safe place right now. Although it's not a warning, this could pop up as a warning at any moment. So we want you to be safe. We want you to play it by ear. This should be beyond you in the next 20 minutes or so. So if you have to go into the interior or your safe place, just do it. And again, we'll give you the all-clear sign if the TV is loud, and certainly you can hear us. And remember, the Fox 8 weather app or the news app. If you go into your interior or your safe place and you lose power, you can always watch us on your device, on your iPad or your iPhone or your Android. You can watch Fox 8 Live and, of course, watch the live broadcast, and you'll have an idea of what's going on in terms of that. Now, the tornado watch more than likely is being peeled off to the west. In fact, as we take a look toward Baton Rouge, everything is pretty much beginning to move off to the east in that area. So all in all, we're looking at the threat of those strong storms around Baton Rouge pretty much dissipating. Now, Baton Rouge has had a lot of rain with a flood warning. Those will diminish later on, but right now, everything is moving eastward. And from Ponchatoula to Hammond to Tickfaw, these are these areas that we're looking at with a severe thunderstorm warning, and then the tornado warning that's in effect right now, northeast of Bailey, moving toward Clifton. I'm going to put velocity back on, and we'll certainly look near Clifton and also farther south near Franklinton. This is a bow echo or the possibility of a tornado on the ground. When we say a bow echo, as that line moves in, as they bend, we get a big, big burst of wind that could cause a lot of damage. And some of these areas could see winds up to 70, 80 miles per hour. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a tornado on the ground with these straight line winds and bow echoes kind of echoing down here. You can see on the outer edge of that line, we could get really big bursts of wind. Franklinton right now again. Clifton, if you're in this area here just ahead of the main line, I would certainly get into your safe place. We are under tornado watches. Clifton, under a tornado warning at this point. This is the suspect area of a tornado as it moves toward Clifton off to the east and northeast. And it will be very interesting. 6:45 is the expiration time, and we're getting now another warning, and Nakandra is going to get that on for us in just a moment. But nevertheless, we're going to be watching Clifton and Franklinton. These are the areas and these are the vicinities and the communities that I want you to get into your safe place as this line continues to move off to the east and the northeast. So Clifton, as you can see, this is a big rotation that's possible on the ground. It is moving toward your area here. On the debris tracker, we've actually tracked some debris in the air on top of the long track tornadoes on the Viper rotation path that indicated that we had some rotation and pathing going on with a possible system on the ground. So Nakandra's got something for me?
Cleared from the warning, so the storm moved completely into Washington.
Okay. Do we have Nakandra's mic on as well? Nakandra's mic, what are you on? Pink?
I am on a green mic.
Okay, there you go. All right,
yes.
So repeat it again, please.
So the warning for Tangible Hole was dropped as the storm has moved all the way into Washington. So that's what that alert was for.
Okay, so, as we expected, I mean, everything from the western edge is being dropped. Now everything's moving eastward with the main line itself. So still a tornado warning in effect. And, when there's a tornado warning in the area, like Araby, you may live on the North Shore and say, I don't live in that area, but we have to watch out for everybody. I mean, Araby took a hard hit. It could be North Shore this time. So that's why we stay with this, and we want to keep you safe from any type of storm damage. And chances are you may know someone on the North Shore, someone that lives in these areas that you can maybe call them and warn them. But with this line on the northernmost end, we do have severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings still in effect as that storm continues to move off to the east. North of Bogalusa in the next 15 minutes or so. Laplace, you're getting into some very heavy rain right now, but you have no warnings at this point. However, we will see some strong gusty winds, blinding rains moving into that area as it moves off to the north and off to the east. So as we look at this area here, this is called, again, a skid. And when we put information and hit the actual bottom of the skid, it'll tell us that right now it's looking at hail, 60%, possibility of half inch or less, and a BTI on the lower end, which is good, at about a 3.8. Remember the one farther north through areas east of Ponchatoula, it was a 7.1. So the higher the number on the BTI, the better chance of a tornado. So a 3.1, 3.5 on the lower end. However, we have to watch. They could certainly start development where we have that very strong south wind at the surface, westerly wind in the upper levels, and we could see rotation. But the good news is that Viper rotation not showing any red or green coming together. So as of right now, really no concern with that. Let's go farther north on the rotation path, Nicandra, and let's show you, viewers, what we've been looking at. Once again, areas near Tickfaw, we've seen this rotation, but farther north, where we've seen this warning possible, we've seen some wind damage coming in from Montpelier to just to the west of Franklinton. So in this area here, it has been indicating that we've seen quite a bit of wind in these areas here. Now, of course, we are watching Franklinton at this point, and as Viper updates, you can see that path continues to grow longer and longer. So once again, Franklinton over toward Clifton. If you live in these areas, I would certainly stay put. Here's what we're looking at. Wow, near Clifton. This looks as though it's getting a bit better organized. Nicandra is seeing it on Viper radar right now. If you live near Clifton, get into your safe place. You are under a warning. Clifton, right now, this system is coming right over you. We've been talking about Clifton for the last 12 to 15 minutes, trying to give you that forewarning that the storm is headed right in your direction. Indeed it is. It looked like it may be right over or just north of Clifton, but right now, it looks like if this indeed is a tornado, it could be a direct hit on the small town of Clifton. So if you have any relatives there, you may want to certainly, give them a call. Hopefully they're in their safe place right now. Farther north, maybe some winds coming in through a Warnertown. Here's the state line. So again, this is Mississippi on the north end. Of course, here is Louisiana on the southern end. And Clifton, this is a really strong signature of a possible, indeed, tornado that's on the ground, indicated by Viper radar, right over Clifton, Louisiana. In our newsroom, we've got our newsroom calling up these parishes after these go by to see if there's any damage or if there are any injuries or any issues at this point. But right now, this is real time. We are right now at just about 6:45 in the evening, and as you can see, we're tracking a tornado that is more than likely on the ground near Clifton. Debris tracker continues to show just a lot of wind areas here, but nevertheless, when we start looking at those areas that are compact within the reds and the greens to and from the radar, those are indications of what we're possibly seeing with a tornado on the ground. So with a tornado warning, we're going to stay with it. Now, we are seeing more rotation coming in near Franklinton, farther south. Now, along this line, we talked about it. We could get spin-ups along the main boundary and along the main line. So again, these areas farther north from the state line down to Franklinton, this is an area that we're watching very closely, and you can see right near Stony Point eastward toward Franklinton, we're going to come in a little bit closer. Here's what I want to do. I want to come into this area here and see. I'm not really seeing much rotation in this vicinity here right now, but farther north near Clifton, we're going to come in very close, and this is what we're looking for in terms of any possible rotation or tornado. Notice here, you don't really have that rotation going on where you start seeing some of the greens coming into the reds and then kind of an open area here. This could show certainly a lot of straight line winds as well as the potential of a tornado. Let's come and show you. I'm going to turn on the actual Viper radar now, and we'll put on the reflectivity. And as you can see, this area here is definitely on the outer edge, seeing some very strong winds from Clifton heading eastward, 2 areas to the east right now in a very rural area. The good news is that if areas here to the north get tornadoes, although Clifton, right now you're under the gun, farther north and east, it's a very rural area, and hopefully we can see maybe diminishing of these tornadoes as they go through those regions before they start hitting areas with some population. So for right now, we are tracking a tornado warning that is in effect right now as we look at the base velocity right near Clifton, and did they actually drop it, Nicandra? It looks like the actual warning is dropped.
expired at 6:45, so they let it expire, but the severe warning is now until 7:50.
7:50,
So the
okay.
severe thunderstorm warning is going to encompass that entire line, which of course means you could get the damaging straight line winds with that, and that's going to go until 7:50. And another update since we've been on,
Sure.
the Mississippi counties have now been put under the tornado watch. We expected that to happen, and that is now going to be until 4 a.m., I believe, for the Mississippi counties.
Okay.
So
We're
that was
updating
one of
as
the
we're going through all this stuff right now. But once again, what we're showing is now the good news is that the tornado warning now has been canceled. That's the great news. But still, with areas in the orange, these are severe thunderstorm warnings. And what that tells us is within that line, which we've been seeing, which is no surprise, we are now seeing as the line moves in. I'm going to back out, and I'll show you the South Shore in a moment, too, because a lot of people there want to see what's happening. The main line itself is coming in from basically west of Angie, Varnado seeing a storm, but Franklinton down to Folsom as that line moves east. Areas just to the east of the main line, you're going to feel a big burst of wind. We're going to see a lot of winds, a lot of lightning going on, and also the potential of some spin-ups. So I want to come farther south and show people on the South Shore. I know we've been concentrating there. First, we'll start at the river parishes. Coming in, look at Lake Maurepas. I mean, it is completely covered with very heavy rain. Laplace, Norco, Luling, all this activity is moving to the east, and I'll put in over the last 15 minutes on our time lapse, and what you're going to see is in motion now. This is a time lapse over a 15-minute period. So even over 15 minutes, you can see these storms are not lasting that long. Just west of Sorrento, 15 minutes later, it's east of Sorrento. So that's a good thing. We want this thing to move in and out of here, so in the next 2.5 hours or so, we're pretty much out of the threat. Ponchatoula, Hammond, you still have a ways to go. The line is quite a bit thicker up here, so it may take another 45 minutes for you to clear out, but farther south, the line is a little thinner. So, as promised, let's head on down. We'll come down to the actual line from Thibodaux down to Raceland. As of right now, Thibodaux, you're going to get some gusty winds and also some very heavy rain as it moves off to the east. Lusher, Gramercy, down toward Hanville, these areas, once again, going to see very heavy rain, dangerous lightning, and some very strong gusty winds. In the city, not much happening as of yet. I'm going to show you the city and the West Bank. So far, so good. Belle Chase over to Araby, no problem at all. Down toward Estelle and Crown Point, that line is still easily a good 45 minutes to an hour away. A little line of showers moving in toward Port Sulphur, but overall the South Shore really has not seen much yet. However, we are expecting that line to continue to move eastward, and as it does, it will take this area probably another 45 minutes to about an hour to get into the city and move eastward. So once again, strong storms out there. We continue to watch this on Viper radar. We don't have any, warnings at this point in terms of tornado warnings. But before we do sign off in just a moment, I do want to say that if you do live on the northern end of this line, heading in toward Bogalusa, we are looking at a severe thunderstorm warning here. Yet another severe thunderstorm warning from Albany eastward, right along I-55 and east. And then we have some big storms with no warnings farther south toward Laplace. So once again, here's that radar, and I want to zoom out a bit and show you that. Nikandra, you had something?
Yeah. Well, I just want to make sure we also show the updated tornado watch, just to let folks to the east, remind them that you are now in the watch. I know we were expecting that, but we definitely want to go ahead and throw that up too before we move on.
Okay. All right. You know what we're going to do here? Let's go one more recap, Nikandra, and let's pull up, if we can, the HER or the graph, and we can actually time this out for people. So what we're going to do is now we're going to actually pull up the forecast model, because the high-resolution models, they update every 15 minutes or so, and when they update, it gives us a good timing of that. So let's come back now to actually Max 1 if we can. If we can go back to Max 1. Max 1, we were on Viper, so Max 1 is showing that line of storms moving off to the east. So we are on Max 1 right now. So Nikandra, we can show this area here. This was earlier at 6:22. The warning has been dropped in terms of the tornado warning, but Nikandra's going to step us through this. So it's verifying pretty well. Right now, it's about 10 minutes to 7. This was as of 6:30, the line moving in east of Baton Rouge, and then between 8 and 9 o'clock, moving through the city, and then it looks like the worst of it into St. Bernard Parish. So St. Bernard, 7:30 to about 9 o'clock, you're going to have to watch out as those storms move in. By 10:30, Mississippi Gulf Coast has some storms, but by midnight, this is all said and done. And it looks as though the worst of the severe weather threat, even with rain, comes around 10:30 to 11. So right now, as we approach the 7 o'clock hour, once again, we're going to be looking at, about another 2.5 to 3 hours as it moves in. Nicandra just put up the actual updated tornado watch. Once again, we've kind of peeled off toward Baton Rouge, but we're still under a watch for southeast Louisiana. And look at this, all the way up to areas of Illinois. So certainly, this is something we're going to be watching very closely over the next hour or two as that line begins to move in. One more look at radar, then we're going to call it quits here. If we indeed have another warning that comes down, we're going to be right back on. But right now, there are no tornado warnings in effect at all. We do have that severe thunderstorm warning on the North Shore. That is right near Bogalusa. We'll focus into that area. The other one is near Tickfaw and Hammond, moving east toward Folsom. So up there, heavy winds and rain. French Settlement seeing some rain. Laplace, river parishes moving into your area right now. Fortunately, it's a thinner line. Hopefully won't last but an hour. In the city, probably around 7:15, 7:30 it moves in. Farther down toward Lafitte, Homa, cut off at around 7:45. So as you can see, those areas right now are high and dry. However, that line is moving in. And Nicandra, if there's any good news, it's a thin line and it's moving quickly. So if we can get by the next couple of hours, I think we should be A-OK.
So yeah, as that line approaches, it's really, this is the time where you're going to also get those strongest winds out ahead of the line. So we've been having those gusts all day long.
Right.
Don't be surprised. This is where you're going to get that last real burst right before the line of storms comes through.
Absolutely so. So we're going to be watching it now. North Shore, some warnings there in terms of thunderstorm warning. Any tornado warnings that come down in our viewing area, we're going to be back on live with you. But for now, I'm Fox 8 meteorologist Bruce Katz with Nicandra Norwood. Let's go back now to regular programming. And again, remember the Fox 8 weather app. You can download it now. Great radar, watches, warnings, anything you need to know. We'll see you back here a little bit later on. Hopefully, with nothing going on, we'll see you back here at 9 for the 9 o'clock news. If something does happen before that, we'll certainly be on live as well. Let's go back now to regular programming.